Happy Easter, and it's glorious for us to all be together on such a special day. This morning, I'd like to talk to you about the crucifixion and the resurrection, and how it is a symbol for our very own lives, and each and every one of us through every incarnation. You know, Jesus stood in his truth and stood in his power and pointed the way, and he was crucified for it. And I'm going to be jumping back and forth. And how does that relate to our own life? How many times have we had the courage to say no to something when we used to say yes, or we went along with something and it just never felt right, and there were consequences because of it? So, you know, we've all experienced that in life. Well, then they made him carry this cross, this heavy cross, symbolizing our burdens that we carry. There are many of us that have scars upon our heart, wounds. We have ourselves carried many crosses. I really don't even know that anyone other than a young child, and eventually they will end up carrying theirs as well. It's the way of life. Life is an experience, and when life hurts and life disappoints and life saddens, we end up with these scars, these painful experiences. But they're there to teach us that we can endure carrying that for as long as we need to, until we are ready to let it go. Now, Jesus, as the story goes, he was nailed to the cross that he had to carry. They also put a crown of thorns on his head. And I see that crown of thorns as symbolizing in our own lives when, I mean, you can imagine how painful that was for him. And some of our own experiences have been painful. And when we are in that pain, we are cut off from our higher centers, that wisdom within us, the Christ consciousness within us. They did that deliberately. They put that crown of thorns on his head to mimic him, not mimic him, to make fun of him, that he acknowledged that he was a son of God. And I know that many of you have experienced that when you have shown up as the light in the world, there are people that have, they have not liked it. Just like in the times of Jesus, they didn't like how he was showing up in the world because it was different than what was going on, the chaos that was going on. And he was interfering with that. And we do that ourselves as light bearers. We interfere with the flow of that chaos just by being who we are, by not becoming a victim in this world, seeing ourselves as a victim, but as a person that has the power to choose love instead of fear, to choose. Well, they ended up nailing him on the cross. And many of us have felt nailed to a cross at times in our life. And, Jesus didn't stay there. The same day they took him off the cross. But so many people remain nailed to the cross. Now, I do know that with all my experience, no one makes a change one moment before they're ready. And I think you can all agree with that. No matter what anyone has ever said, whatever books you have read, whatever talks you've heard, you're not ready until you're ready. It's not going to happen one moment before that. But, Marianne Williamson said years ago, get off the cross. We need the wood. It just made me chuckle to that one. And we also know people who love hanging on the cross. They don't want to get off. Even if they knew how, they say, no, I like having the attention that I draw through my pain and misery. Do we know people like that? I mean, how many of you know people like that? That's how they get attention. That's how they get you to do for them and take care of them instead of taking care of themselves. But we have the power to take ourselves down from that cross. We have the power. And as the story went, Jesus was placed in a tomb, and a stone was rolled to seal that tomb. Very symbolic of us when we decide to make a change in our life, when we decide to let go of the baggage, to lay the cross down. We need to go into that inner quiet place within us, that inner sanctum of our heart. That tomb, that's what it represents. Going within into that inner sanctum, that quiet, still place. And being there alone with yourself and with your spirit. And with that Christ, that universal Christ wisdom. Because that's where the answers are. That's where the healing begins. Now, Jesus was there for 3 days. It may take you 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 years, 30 years to actually forgive and release something that has hurt you deeply. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you love yourself enough to enter that quiet, still place as often. And this doesn't happen overnight. You may have to go there daily. And actually, it's a very good practice. I go there daily because that's where all the answers are. They don't exist outside of us. The answers exist inside of us, in that quiet, still place where spirit can communicate with us and lighten our path, show us what we need to look at, what we need to let go of, and that we can survive, we can rise above all those difficulties in life. And then what happened next? The tomb was rolled back and Jesus stepped forth. And there was Mary Magdalene, the witness. And she saw him. Whenever we rise above, whenever we resurrect from any pain or suffering, any sadness or loss that we've endured, it's like, I'm going to tell you a story real quick. I was walking through Kensington Park one day and I saw a friend walking towards me. And I thought, oh my God, she looks so light and so bright. And I said to her, well, you look fabulous. You look so light and so bright. She had just resurrected. She had just rose above something in her life that she was working on letting go of. A painful divorce. So you see, when we do that, somebody notices. They may say something, they may not, but they notice. They notice when we rise above. And then we're that shining example, as Jesus was for us, as Martin Luther King was, as Gandhi was. There are so many in the world that have rose above and have left their legacy. They have shined their light upon our path. just as Jesus did. And then what happened? Jesus goes to the 12 disciples, and they at first don't even believe it's him. In fact, they want Jesus to prove that he is who he is. It's like, show us your wounds. Show us where the nails went into your hand. And those who like to stay stuck are threatened by people who do not stay stuck. They literally feel threatened. So they want you to show them your wounds. And are you going to step back into that negativity, into that darkness? Or are you going to say, no, here I am. I have risen above that. That's in the past. It is not part of me anymore. The thing is, when Jesus came out of that tomb, he was in his light body. He wasn't in a solid body like this. He was in his light body. And it's amazing that those who are evolved enough will see you and recognize you in your light body. My friend was filled with light. She had released the pain and suffering that she endured through her divorce. She let it go. And it's amazing that sometimes we feel that we cannot move beyond something because there's been so much that there's nothing ahead that we can see. We can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's there. It's there. So Jesus, the whole story from the crucifixion to the resurrection is so symbolic of the path we walk. There is no one that I know that has ever escaped carrying a cross. Whether they've lost a loved one or, they lost everything, the stock market crashed and they lost everything. We can come up with a million examples when people feel, how do I recover from this? But you can't. And just have to think about, what Easter represents. Easter doesn't represent, in fact, in A Course in Miracles, Jesus says it was never about the crucifixion. It was about the resurrection. It's rising above, letting go of what keeps you stuck, rising above. He resurrected. And sometimes it feels kind of lonely when we reach that place, because we look around and say, is there anybody here that understands? Do they, and they don't. If they have not let go of something themselves, if they have not risen above and resurrected from something themselves, they can't understand. They can't. I'm thinking back at something Stan said one day. I was talking about somebody having a migraine headache. And Stan goes, he doesn't even know what a headache is. He's never had a headache in his life. So could he understand someone having pain regarding a headache? Absolutely not. He's never experienced it. But I do remember saying to him, my response to him was, well, don't have to have a headache to have compassion. Okay, let's not have to have the experience in order to have compassion. But a lot of people don't even understand that. But we can understand it. We can understand that everyone around us has their difficulties, has their things that they have to overcome, the baggage that they're carrying, that they would love to leave behind if they only knew that there was no fear involved to do so. That, I mean, you know, we don't just stand where we are in this moment. We are surrounded by loving brothers and sisters that support us, visible and invisible. They support us. So this thought of being alone, I mean, Jesus knew he was never alone. He was never alone. And we are never alone. That's the glory of our experience here, is that what we experience, and when we have the courage and know that love stands beside us, that we can look at it, let it heal, forgive it, and let it go. There's all kinds of support. In fact, there's a song, I don't remember her name right now. We've got some of her music. She did a lot of songs regarding the Course in Miracles. That's where she got her inspiration. And she says in one of her songs, if you knew who walked beside you, fear would be impossible. Fear would be impossible. So, you know, when Jesus said he would never leave us, that he was with us always, it isn't, you know, some people have difficulty with that. You know, they say Jesus, the man. It's the Christ consciousness. The reason they called him Jesus Christ is because he took on the mantle of that Christ consciousness, that universal Christ consciousness that's within every one of us. The word Christ simply means that universal, that consciousness, that absolute that exists within everyone. He acknowledged it. He was one with it. And we can do the same thing. It may take quite a while, but we can do the same thing. In fact, I believe in the Bible, he said, we will do these things and greater. That's the faith he has in us. We have to have faith in each other. We have to have faith in ourselves. So here it is, Easter. And it's a sunny day. Well, at least where most of us are. It's a beautiful, glorious day. How fitting to represent the resurrection, the overcoming. The overcoming. I really want to leave that with you with love and light. Please, you have the power within you. You have the ability to go into that quiet, still place like you did today through the meditation and connect with the source within you, the source in which we live and move and have our being. It's right there in the inner sanctum of our heart. And then we connect our heart and our mind together as we look at those things that stand in our way. And we overcome. And by the way, then that crown is no longer a crown of thorns. It's the crown of a queen or a king. And that beam of light just shoots right up to those higher centers. And then you feel connected. You feel grounded from your spirit, your very own spirit, your very own power. You feel grounded in that. And that's what will move you through every experience. You are the love and light of the world. You are the love and light of the Creator. You were created in its image and likeness. I leave that with all of you with love and light. God bless you. I love you. Amen.